So welcome to Math Problems with Mr. B. Today we're going to look at some fraction problems and how to think about those. So let's remember some things that we know about fractions, or maybe some things we forgot or need to be refreshed. Fractions are all about pizza. This is an easy way to remember fractions. The numerator, or the top number, is how many slices you got on your plate. The bottom number, the denominator, is how many slices you cut the whole pie into. So for example here, you can see that we've cut the pie into 4 slices, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if we take just one of those slices, we get the fraction 1/4, the number of slices I have over the number of slices that we cut into a pie that are all the same size. Now, what we have to remember is in order to compare fractions or do some math with fractions, we have to cut pizzas the same for every pie. And that means we have to have similar bottom numbers or denominators. So let's look at a problem. Here we have a pizza, and you can see that here we have 2 out of 4 slices. They're scribbled out on the left. And this pizza we've only cut into 2 slices, so if we get 1 out of 2, we can see that these are the same size. And what we've done here is we can see that we have equivalent fractions. Even though the bottom numbers are different, they represent the same fraction. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to figure out how to convert fractions into equivalent fractions that have the same bottom. So let's look at a problem. It may seem like a lot of steps, but the good idea is to have some pizza on hand to reward. So let's try a problem. We have a fraction 2/4 plus another fraction 1/7. Now remember, we have to have the same pizza slices in a pie or the bottom number to do the addition, okay? So the first thing we have to do is find a common denominator. One way that you can do this is take each of the denominators, 4 and 7, and simply multiply them. What we're trying to find is a number that they'll both go into. This always works, although it may not always provide you with the smallest number you could use, the least common denominator. If you use the smallest number, if you use the least common denominator, the problem will be simpler to solve. So now that we know that the common denominator is 28 by multiplying the two denominators, we have to figure out, just like in the last picture with the pizza, that 2/4 equals 1/2. How much does 2/4 equal if the bottom number is now 28? So we actually have 3 kind of things to figure out, right? So we set up a multiplication problem, our original fraction, times a new fraction, which we don't know the top or the bottom number, the numerator or denominator, equals a new fraction, which has the bottom number, which is our common denominator. So just like when we walk into a house on the first floor, we're going to start at the bottom, work our way up and over. So what we're doing here is we're multiplying across. 4 times what equals 28? Well, 4 times 7 is equal to 28. Okay? So now whatever number here, we have to multiply times the top. So this question mark is easy because as soon as we figured out the denominator, we know that the numerator has to be the same. Now why do we know that? Because any number, a fraction is technically a division problem. 7 divided by 7 is equal to 1. And that's why this is an equal fraction, because anything times 1 is equal to itself. 4 times 1 equals 4. So we have to multiply this fraction really by a value of 1 so that we keep it the same value. So now we just multiply across the top. 2 times 7 equals 14. And so we now have our new fraction. 2/4 is the same thing as 14/28. So why don't you hit pause and see if you can do the same thing with our next fraction. Remember, we have to set it up. 1/7 times a new fraction, which we don't know what it is, equals our common denominator, and we need to figure the value on top. So hit pause and try this one on your own. Again, we're going to start on the ground floor. 7 times what equals 28? Well, 7 times 4 equals 28. Remember, if we find this 4, we have to move it right up top so that we're actually multiplying the original fraction by a value of 1. And then 1 times 4, now that we're upstairs, we get equals 4. And so now we have our two equivalent fractions. 2 fourths equals 14/28. 1/7 equals 4/28. And so now we can add these. Now the good part about when we're adding or subtracting fractions and we have common denominators, the bottom stays the same. Okay, the number of slices we cut into the pizza will always be the same. So really all we have to do is the top. And 14 plus 4 is 18. Well, you know us math teachers, we're sticklers for putting our answers in simplest form. And that means we're trying to see if any number will go into both of those. Since both numbers are even, I know that 2 will go into each of those. And so a good way to do this so that you can see it is to factor. 2 times what is equal to 18? 2 times what is equal to 28? And here you can see that. 18 is equal to 2 times 9. 28 is equal to 2 times 14. Remember, when we're multiplying, not adding or subtracting in the fraction in the numerator or denominator, and we have a common term, we can cancel it out. Let's cancel that out. Now, why can we cancel it out? Because it kind of looks like the number 1, that bar does, and that's what it is. 2 over 2 equals 1, and so we can reduce it. And so our answer to this problem is simply 9/14. I think that deserves a good slice of pizza.